Hello, I'm going to show you how I would examine a shoulder, and I think one of the things that we found is that there are many different shoulder tests, so it's using ones that we're comfortable with and ones that we can remember and what their significance means. As with many joints that we examine, we need to work through in an order, and for me that order is first of all to inspect, to have a look at, remembering to look at both from the front and from the back, to then palpate the structures, to then look at a range of movement, and that's going to be both passive and active, and then look at performing special tests for either for us either to focus in on one area in particular or to look more generally. So inspection, first of all, looking anteriorly, what am I looking for? Well, I'm having a look at both deltoids on both sides to make sure that there's no wasting of the deltoid muscles. Likewise, I'm having a look at pec major to make sure that pec major is the same on both sides with no wasting or problems there. And I'll also be looking at both the acromioclavicular joints, ensuring that they were both symmetrical and look the same on both sides. I then want to look from the back, so if I get you just to turn around, Lorna, if that's all right, thank you. Again, what I would be looking for here is going to be looking at trapezius, coming down here to ensure that that was the same. I'd want to look at the back of both deltoids, those appear to be the same. And importantly, I'll be wanting to look at both the supraspinatus fossa and also the infraspinatus fossa to ensure that there was no wasting of the muscles there. I then will want to have a look at what movements are possible. So what I want you to do, if that's all right, Lorna, is can you pull your shoulders back? So if you pull your shoulder blades back so that you're doing that movement, that's wonderful. And can you do that 3 or 4 times? And keep going. And what I'm doing here is just trying to fatigue some of the muscles to see if there's any difference in the range of movement there. And that appears to be okay and normal. What I then want to do is test similar sort of movements, but with the arms in different positions. Can I just get you just to lift your shoulders up and down and up and down and up and down? That's wonderful. Now if you pop your hands on your hips, and I want you to do the same movements again, so pulling your shoulder blades back and forward 3 or 4 times, and I'm looking for movement of the scapula, I'm comparing both sides. That's wonderful. And then up and down and keep going. That's brilliant, thank you. Now I want you to pretend that you're like an aeroplane. If you put your arms out by your sides, and again, I want you to do those movements again. And what we're doing now is putting some load onto the shoulders. So if you pull your shoulder blades back and keep going. And what I'm doing all the time is watching what the scapula are doing. And now if you shrug your shoulders up, that's wonderful, and keep going. That's great. And now just pop my arms by your side. What I want you to do now is to put your hands out in front of you like that, pretending that you're Superman. And then again, I'm looking at your shoulders, and what I want you to do is I want you to lift them up above your head like that. That's wonderful, and go down. And let's do that 4 or 5 times. And again, I'm watching the movement of the scapula. I'm watching to see if there's any fatiguing of muscles that's causing any scapular dysrhythmia. And one last one. That's wonderful, thank you. Okay, you can rest that down now, thank you. So that would be my inspection done. I'm now going to want to move on to palpation. I'm going to want to palpate all the way around. So I'm going to start posteriorly here. What I'd want to do is initially palpate down the spine and ensure I can't find any tender areas. Okay, is that okay?
Yes.
I then want to palpate the medial border of the scapula and ensure I can't feel any tenderness there. I'm now working around to the inferior border of the scapula, and that's okay?
Yes.
And then I'm just going to work along the spine of the scapula, coming up to the acromion, and is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, thank you. I'm going to want to palpate in the supraspinatus fossa, make sure I can't elicit any tender areas, and also the infraspinatus fossa. And then finally from the back, I'm going to want to just come around just to the glenoid, just here, and just palpate in there. And often what I do, and I know that this is round at the front, I'll often feel around the coracoid at the same time. It kind of helps me get my landmarks. So I've made sure there's no tenderness there, and then often what I'll do while I'm here is just feel the coracoid proceps. That's of course where long-headed biceps inserts and can be problematic with a biceps tendinopathy. That's smashing. Now do you mind just turning around for me? That's great, thank you. And then from the front, what I'd want to do is to feel all the clavicle, from the sternoclavicular joint, and then walk my fingers all the way along the clavicle to the acromioclavicular joint. I'd want to palpate the deltoid muscle. And then finally the pectoralis major muscle. So if I just get you to put your hands on your hips for that, that's wonderful. And this is just where the pec major tendon goes up into the axilla, and that feels okay. Now if I just get you just to move around so that your legs are over here, what I'm going to do now is look at passive and then active range of movements. And in order to do that, what I need to do is to stabilise the shoulder. So with my left hand, I'm going to stabilise the scapula. If we just let that hang down by the side, that's wonderful. Okay, so first of all I'm going to abduct, so I'm going to lift your arm this way, let me do all the movements, and then once I feel the scapula moving, which it just has done, I know that I've lost glenohumeral, pure glenohumeral movement, so that's abducting. I'm then going to want to do likewise into forward flexion, and again the scapula, I can just feel that starting to swing there, and then extension. Okay. I'm then going to want to look at external rotation. So if I'm just going to let your arm go by the side, let me take it, and then I'm just going to turn your arm out and then come in for internal rotation. Another test I'll sometimes do myself for internal rotation is just to take the arm behind myself and do that. I can test external and internal rotation as well differently by cocking the arm. Imagine you're going to be throwing a ball. So your arm like that, and then we can go to external rotation. So I'm just going to relax and I'm going to pull your arm back that way so that it goes like that. And I'm going to come in for an internal rotation, and external rotation, and internal rotation. One final test is a test for the acromioclavicular joint, and that's the scarf test. So I'm just going to move your arm over there. And with, say, degenerative conditions of the AC joint, that could be painful. Okay, that's smashing. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is to do those movements yourself. So what I want you to do is, just with your arm by your side, I want you to lift that up, all the way up. That's wonderful. And then come down slowly. That's brilliant. I want you to put your arm by your side and I want you to turn it out. That's good. And then I want you to turn it in and press hard on your tummy. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Okay then. Then I want you to just pop it behind your back. Is that okay? That's fine. And now what I want you to do is to do that ball throwing again, and then arm back, and then arm in, and then back, and in. Fine. I'm now going to want to test those against resistance. So if I wanted to test deltoid, if you hold your arm there, I'm just going to press down, and I want you to try and stop me pressing down, okay? That's fine, and relax. I want you to lift your arm forward and I'm going to stop you. So there's good resistance there, and I want you to go backwards and I'm going to stop you. That's fine. Rest that there. I want you to turn out and I'm going to stop you. Now this external rotation and resisted external rotation is testing both infraspinatus and also teres minor. I then want you to turn that in and press hard on your tummy. That's a test for subscapularis. And another way I can test for subscapularis is the lift-off test. So I'm going to put your arm behind your back and I want you to push that hand away, okay? So lift it away. Keep it lifted off. That's wonderful. That's good. Thank you. Just have a drink. Losing my throat. So what we've been doing there is testing some of the rotator cuff, but probably the commonest tendinopathy that we'll see in the rotator cuff is supraspinatus tendinopathy. And a test that I'll often do for that is called the empty can test. So what I want you to do for this is to put your arm forward, and we're going in the plane of the shoulder for this, and then I want you to turn your arm down like that, and I want you to keep that there and I'm going to press down, okay? So keep it there and I'm going to press down. Now with supraspinatus tendinopathy that would be painful, and if it were weak, so if you just relax a bit, so if it were weak and I was able to push it down, then I'd kind of be thinking then around whether could this be a tear within the supraspinatus tendon. So we've tested supraspinatus, we've tested infraspinatus and teres minor, and we've also tested subscapularis, so that would be the rotator cuff. I might also be considering a impingement problem, maybe related to supraspinatus tendinopathy, and there's a couple of tests that I do for this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn your arm in a bit like that, and then I'm going to lift this for you, and I'm just going to lift that forward. And with impingement we might find that that is sore. That's a test that's called Neer's test. Another test I might do is called Hawkins test, where I would have the arm like this and then I would internally rotate. And again with impingement, what I'm doing there is that the humeral head I'll be trying to catch and see whether that caused any pain, and that seems to be okay. I might then wonder about some instability problems with the shoulder joint, and that might be due to general laxity of joints all over, so I would probably want to have a look at the thumb to make sure that I couldn't hyperextend the thumb, or that I couldn't hyperextend the wrist, or that I can't hyperextend the elbow. There's a test that's called the sulcus test, which what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold here and I'm going to pull down, okay? And I'm just going to hold on top there like that, okay? Mm-hmm. So holding that, I then pull down and I see whether I get a sulcus, a dimple that forms here from the vacuum that forms as I increase the space in the glenohumeral joint. I then might want to do a posterior shove test, so what I'm going to do is pop your arm like that, and then again stabilising the shoulder, I'm going to be pressing on the back of your arm here, and what I'm trying to do is see whether I can cause any discomfort or a feeling that something's about to give by moving both forward and backwards there. Another way of testing for anterior instability is if I get you just to cock your arm again like that, what I'm going to do is just push backwards and then forwards. And again, what can happen there is that if somebody's feeling that they have some instability, they'll be wanting to try and stop you as you were doing that. Finally, I'd want to just do some tests for a SLAP lesion, superior labral AP lesion, and that's where the biceps tendon inserts into the labrum, and in order to do that, the test that I would probably be thinking of doing would be the O'Brien's test, where I want internal rotation, popping your arm across there like that, and then I'm going to press down and I want you to stop me pressing down, okay? And then I want to turn your arm up, so your thumb's up, and I want you to try and stop me pressing down. And if the first is painful, so that's with the thumb down, I might be thinking of either a slap lesion, or also that can be posited with an AC joint degenerative problem as well. The speed test I can also do as a test for the long-headed biceps and also slap lesion. So I'm going to put your arm like that, and then I want you to keep it there, and I'm going to push down. Okay? And the final test that I would want to do for a slap lesion is if you cock your arm up like that, and I want you to push forward on me. And again, with a slap lesion, that would be painful. So what I hope to have shown you is my, I hope, relatively simple way of examining a shoulder, working through those simple steps of inspect, palpate, passive range of movement, active range of movement, and then special tests looking at the rotator cuff, looking for impingement and looking for a slap lesion. And I hope that's been helpful. Thank you for watching.